Hello and welcome to my 8 video journal. This week I'm going to be discussing CBT, which is also known as cognitive behavioral therapy, and how it can be integrated into my future clinical practice. And I'm also going to touch upon DBT, which is also known as dialectical behavioral therapy. And I'm going to be sharing my experiences with CBT in my current clinical encounter. So discussing CBT techniques. In the CBT case study that we reviewed, we had several specific techniques that were employed to change thought patterns and also subsequently alter behaviors. And one of the key technique was cognitive restructuring, which actually involved identifying and challenging distorted thinking pattern. For instance, when a patient expressed a feeling of worthlessness, the therapist actually guided them to examine the evidence behind those beliefs and how to also develop more balanced thoughts. Another technique used was behavioral activation. And in behavioral activation, we encourage the patients to actually engage in activities that aligns with their values as well as their interests. And this approach aimed to actually combat the feeling of depression. Additionally, this case study highlighted the use of exposure therapy for patients actually dealing with anxiety, whereby they gradually are exposed to feared situation in a controlled manner, and helping them reduce their anxiety response over time. Looking forward to my clinical practice, I see immense value in incorporating CBT techniques. And one way I could implement the strategies is by conducting regular cognitive assessments to identify thought distortion in my patients. I would encourage them to keep track of their, a thought record, which can help them actually track negative thoughts and also their corresponding emotion, allowing for real-time cognitive restructuring. I also plan to create a safe environment where my patients feel comfortable expressing their thought and feelings. I think this is extremely important, and I will also guide them in exploring the connection between these thoughts and their behaviors. Utilizing behavioral activation techniques could also be beneficial, particularly for patients struggling with depression, by helping them actually establish a routine actually filled with meaningful activities. As for DBT, which is the dialectical behavioral therapy, it is primarily used with individuals diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which is also known as DBT, DPD. But its strategy can also be effective for other conditions such as mood disorder, anxiety disorder, and PTSD. The emphasis on emotional regulation as well as interpersonal effectiveness makes DBT a versatile option in my future practice. In my current clinical encounter, I have had the opportunity to actually participate in a couple of CBT sessions. One particular experience that really stands out to me that I observed was a session with a patient that was struggling with generalized anxiety. And the therapist, which is my preceptor, utilized cognitive restructuring to help this patient actually identify anxieties associated with their work. And through guided questions, the patient was able to actually articulate their fears and also subsequently challenged those thoughts. The transformation was actually amazing. I feel like it was really palpable as the session actually progressed. The patient began to express feeling of empowerment and also they could express that they were more in control of their anxiety. It was very inspiring to see how this technique and how the CBT techniques facilitated this change, and it actually really solidified my interest in using CBT in my own practice. In summary, this week's exploration of CBT has actually shed a lot of knowledge as well as light on practical techniques that can drive change in patients' lives. The ability to actually recognize and also to adapt thought patterns is very powerful. It's a very powerful tool for emotional as well as behavioral regulation. And looking ahead, I am very excited about the possibility of integrating this technique into my future clinical work and the positive impact that this can have on my patients. Thank you for listening to my week 8 video, and I'm looking forward to the week 9 video.